Beginning, the crash in the dunes. The desert was never supposed to hum. Private Elias Dre had patrolled this sector of Epsilon 9 for nearly 3 months, and the silence of the sand was a kind of comfort to him. Nothing lived out here except wind, dust, and the occasional glimmer of a crashed drone. That night, however, the wind carried something else, a faint mechanical wail, fading in and out like a broken distress beacon. He tightened his gloves, adjusted his visor, and followed the sound across the dunes. The twin moons hung low, pale and silent, casting eerie blue light over the wreckage that came into view. It was a small vessel, half buried in the sand, definitely not human design. Its hull was shaped like a living thing, the metal curved and veined with what looked like faint bioluminescence. Elias tapped his comms. "Command, this is Unit 47. Found something. Possibly an alien pod. No heat signatures yet. Requesting instructions." Static. Then silence. He tried again, but the signal was gone, swallowed by whatever field this craft was emitting. So he went closer. The hull was cracked open like an egg. Inside, tangled in soft web-like filaments, was a figure. A woman, at least she looked like one. Her skin shimmered faintly under the moons, like metal dust over flesh. Her hair was silvery white, flowing across her face like liquid threads. There was a wound across her shoulder, deep but not bleeding red. The fluid was faintly luminous, glowing blue against the sand. "Hey," Elias whispered, kneeling beside her. "You're still alive." Her eyes fluttered open for a moment. He froze. Her irises looked like molten silver, and when they met his, he felt an electric pulse in his chest. Not fear, not recognition, but something else. She whispered a single word in a language he didn't know, then lost consciousness. Middle, the stranger who knew his name. Elias dragged her to his rover. The mission manual was clear. Report, wait for extraction, never engage alien species without clearance. But he couldn't just leave her. Something about the way she'd looked at him. It didn't feel like a first meeting. Back at the outpost, he laid her on a med cot, trying to use the station's automated scanner. The machine flickered, confused. It couldn't read her vitals. Every reading came back with an error. Hours passed. The desert outside howled. When he returned from refilling the power cells, she was awake, sitting upright, eyes wide and bright, staring at him as though she'd been waiting for centuries. "Elias," she said softly. He stopped cold. "How do you know my name?" She blinked slowly, like she was remembering how to breathe. "Because you are my bond. My husband." He nearly laughed, or tried to. "Look, you're injured." "You might be." But she interrupted with a whisper that made his pulse spike. "Noah, not yet. You don't remember. You're still bound to your first life." He frowned. "First life." She reached out, her hand trembling. Her fingers brushed his wrist, and in that instant, his mind flashed white. He saw stars folding into themselves. A war among galaxies. A figure that looked like her, standing beside someone in armor, him. Or someone who looked like him. He felt a rush of emotions that weren't his own. Love, loss, and betrayal, all in one heartbeat. When he snapped back, he stumbled away, breathless. What the hell was that? Her gaze softened, almost mournful. "Fragments," she whispered. "The bond remembers before the mind does." The alien truth. Over the next few days, Elias couldn't bring himself to report her. He told command he was dealing with a radiation leak, keeping the outpost on lockdown. Every night the woman, who called herself Soraya, grew stronger. Her wound healed in a way that defied biology, the glowing fluid sealing itself into pale, smooth skin. She would often stand by the viewport, staring at the horizon. "You humans still divide yourselves by planets," she said one evening. "We once did that too. Before we realized how small worlds truly are." Elias studied her quietly. "You make it sound like you've been watching us for a while." "I have," she replied. "Or rather, my kind has. The Elthari have crossed your skies long before you knew the stars." He frowned. "Then why crash here?" Her eyes darkened, the silver light dimming. "We were fleeing. There's something worse than us out there." Elias leaned forward. "Worse?" She looked at him, and for the first time he saw real fear in her eyes. "The silence. They don't conquer worlds. They erase them. We were trying to warn you." The words hung heavy in the air. Before he could respond, she stepped closer and took his hand again. "You once fought them beside me. You died because of them. And when I found your echo here, I followed it." He shook his head slowly, trying to process. "You're saying I'm some kind of reincarnation?" She tilted her head. "Your body is human. Your soul isn't." Middle part 2. The Awakening. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. His dreams were filled with flashes. Starships burning, Soraya calling his name in another language, and his own voice shouting commands to soldiers that weren't human. When he woke, the outpost alarms were blaring. Something was approaching from the sky. He rushed to the scanners. A fleet of drones, unmarked, closing in fast. Not human, not Elthari either. Soraya appeared beside him. "They've found me. The Silence's agents." Elias grabbed his plasma rifle. "Then we fight." She looked at him, startled. "You don't even remember who you are, and still you stand with me?" He gave a half smile. "You said I did it before. Might as well keep the record straight." Outside, the desert erupted in fire. Drones screamed through the air, releasing energy blasts that tore into the sand. Elias and Soraya fought side by side, her hands glowing as she manipulated energy fields that bent the blasts away, while Elias took out drones with precise shots. At one point she faltered, the strain too much. A beam hit her square in the chest. "Soraya!" he yelled, running to her. She looked up weakly, her form flickering as if her body were dissolving into light. "Elias, it's not your time yet." He held her tightly, ignoring the burning around them. "Don't talk like that." She smiled faintly. "If you remember nothing else, remember this. I found you across death itself." Then she touched his temple. A flood of memories returned. Names, battles, a promise made long ago. He was Edric, once a commander in the Elthari defense. He'd fallen in love with Soraya during the last war. When the Silence attacked, he'd stayed behind to hold the line while she escaped. She had sworn to find him again, no matter where his soul was reborn. Ending, the promise reborn. The drones finally fell silent, one by one, collapsing into the sand as Soraya unleashed a final wave of light. But when the dust settled, she was gone. Only a faint shimmer of silver remained in the air, and a whisper in his mind. "When the stars fall quiet, I will return." Command finally reached him 2 days later. They sent a recovery team, questioning the damage, the missing data, the destroyed drones. Elias said nothing. He simply handed in his rifle and requested reassignment off-world. Months passed. He transferred to a research station orbiting Vega. Sometimes, late at night, he would stare out at the stars, and the same hum from the desert would return, faint and melodic. Then, one evening, the ship's sensors detected a small signal near the Vega ring, a familiar energy signature.